Thank you, Governor. Isn't he wonderful? Inspirational. John Donahoe and the eBay team, thank you for being such gracious hosts today. And welcome to everyone. It's a very, very special day for us, and we're so glad you took the time to be here with us today. It means a lot to us. Our journey to here began millions of miles away on Mars. I was a professor at the University of Arizona, and I was trying to make Mars our second home, developing technologies so we can sustain life on Mars. Breathable air, water, heat, electricity, and fuels. If you had that, you can live anywhere. While I was working on that, the technology development was robust. Unfortunately, I couldn't say the same thing about the funding and the rockets, which I couldn't control. So it became an issue of impact, which is what I wanted to start this work on. After spending about a decade working on this, I had to look back. And I had to look back at our first home instead of our second home. While I was dreaming about Mars and Mars colonies, historically unprecedented things had happened on Earth. The few 100 million people that had stepped out of poverty and climbed the economic ladder around the world. And what did they all want? The same thing that we all want. More of everything. More resources, more water, more energy. And of course, they have a right to this. But we were trying to provide that in our old, unsustainable fashion. The unprecedented growth and demand simply said the ways of the past had to be changed, but we were not realizing that. It sent shivers down my spine as I thought about it. Why? If we just continued that way, we would be handing our children and their children a broken planet. It reminded me of the pale blue dot in the solar system that's called our only home. And the thought of handing our children and our grandchildren a broken planet and standing on the sidelines and complaining about it was not what I thought we should do. Just look at this picture. It's a composite image of world by night. That's what it's called, composite image of world by night. Each one of you will look at this picture and take your own messages. For me, it was really a composite image of two worlds. A bright world and a dark world. It was an image of the world of haves and the world of have-nots. It was an image of people who had the opportunity for economic growth and people who just were denied the opportunity to climb that economic ladder. No pathway to economic growth. 1 in 3 humans, 2 billion people don't have access or affordable access to energy. The global population growth is expanding, and it's in that 2 billion population that it's growing faster than in the other part. Energy demands were exceeding, and without energy, they didn't have a passport to economic growth. My conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, was very simple. Way before we have to confront the environmental issues associated with this, the geopolitical and social impact that would have if we didn't change the way of doing business was a very big deal. That was not acceptable. You can't conserve your way out of this problem. You can't drill your way out of this problem. You can't mine and burn your way out of this problem. We simply had to find a different way. Some saw this as a big crisis barreling down. we saw this as a call to our generation, a call to our generation to make an impact that can do good and make good. What did the world need? Accessible, affordable energy that is sustainable. That's what the world needed. Well, other industries have handled this problem of access and affordability and done well. Why can't we simply follow examples of success? What are those industries? We in this room know this very well. Computing provided access in places that we would have never dreamed 20 years ago people would have computers. Same thing with telephones. You can go into a fishing village in Bangladesh, or you can go to the middle of Africa and find people walking around with a cell phone. Why? It's the wireless. It's going from centralized to distributed. That made a very big difference. But for it to virally spread, it needed to be distributed, but it also needed two things: reliable and affordable. If you had that, the world will adopt. The world will have access. Is that bar sufficient for energy? Was our first question. The answer came out, simply no. The bar is slightly higher. And that bar is clean. It also had to be clean. Now you go, why clean? Is it because you're an environmentalist? Is it because you're an altruist? Is it because of regulation? The answer is no. When you take a power plant that's hundreds of miles away, putting out dirty emissions, and bring that power plant to your backyard, either the dirty emissions have to go or you have to go. So for energy to be distributed, it also had to be clean. Very simple. You put all these together, and it gave us a mission. That was our calling, to make clean, reliable energy, and the key word, affordable for everyone on the planet. That was the calling for our generation. And we at Bloom had to play a part in it, because we felt that it was our calling to play a part in this big equation. Typically in the Valley, companies are founded with a technology and a product, and then you look for what markets can I serve. This company was formed differently. We saw the big problem, and we said, what is a product that can really meet this human need? We didn't have to start from square one. Electricity was invented either accidentally or by innovation a long time ago. We didn't even have to figure out that it needed to be affordable. People knew that a long time ago. You know, the need for backyard power to be clean, that's a centuries-old idea. We just have to go back to it. Can I get some help on the remote here? Thank you. So, distributed for electricity. Thomas Edison had this idea 100 years ago. He was way before his times, way before his technology. So all this was out there. People had already thought about it. The fuel cell. Yes, folks, we did not invent the fuel cell. 1830s, it was there. What we needed to do was a very simple task. Take all these pieces of jigsaw puzzle and weave them into one big coherent picture. What we needed to do is clean, affordable electricity that can be distributed and that's efficient, all together at the same time in the same place. That's what had not been done. We had to integrate these ideas into one single product. And that is what we have been at. And to do this, remember the affordable part being highlighted? We need to start with something simple. The core of our technology, everyone keeps asking, what's that magic sauce? What's that magic technology? Where does it go? Well, I think I'm going to disappoint you all. I'm simply going to tell you the core of our technology simply is sand. Available in plenty, in multiple continents, in ocean beaches. This sand, from this sand you get zirconium oxide, something that we use. Again, affordable, available in plenty. And it has a particular property, a scientific property, that allows us to make a fuel cell. Again, folks, 1980s patent. We didn't have to invent this. Credit to Walter Nernst. What we did with that, though, is we perfected the technology to create what I want to introduce to you, the Bloom Energy Fuel Cell. A flat piece of sand. Flat piece of sand. Inexpensive materials, but this is the core of the technology. Well, fuel cells have been around for a long time. Things have been done. What is all this about? Why is this so different? We take this material and convert it into this, starting with raw powders, with inexpensive manufacturing techniques. And we call that process powder to power. Powder to power for flat pieces of sand. And the uniqueness of this, here is what it is. There are many, but let me focus on the top 4. First one is affordability, cost. Second one is the kind of fuels that we can use on this fuel cell. The third one is we can both use it as an energy producing device and we can use it as an energy storage device. And the last one is electrical performance and efficiency. Let me walk through each one of these for you because it's at the core of what we do. Again, as I went through, we make this out of sand, it's the cost. Affordable materials. You take that with mass manufacturing techniques that the semiconductor industry has invented a long time ago. We have no interest in reinventing the wheel. What you end up with is inexpensive materials. And we like that. More than us, our customers like that because they can have an affordable product. No precious metals, no corrosive acids, no molten metals. Unlike the legacy fuel cell technologies, flat piece of sand. The next is a very important attribute again, fuel flexibility. What goes in to the fuel cell. We can use a variety of fuels. It can be a traditional fuel, natural gas, propane, you name it. It can be a renewable fuel, landfill gas, biomass gas, ethanol, whatever you have. This fuel cell can take any of those fuels, and because of the unique chemistry of this cell, use that to produce electricity without the need for chemical plants that are complex that needs to process the fuel. The fuel cell itself does all that for us. That's the uniqueness of this fuel cell. How is that important to the customer? By giving them fuel flexibility, depending on what location they use this product, they can use the local fuel from there. That's a big deal. Secondly, if you have the choice of multiple fuels that you can switch at will, you can arbitrage to get the cheapest fuel going into your box and thereby get the best economics out of this box. That's how it's useful for the customer. The third attribute goes to something we call reversibility. Remember Mars? Taking solar electricity and producing fuels. Remember what we're doing here? Taking fuels and producing electricity. This box